Hi, everybody. Welcome to English Digest. I'm Tom.
Hi, I'm Stephanie.
It's our history unit as the month of April rolls along here. And, maybe you like royalty. Last year I think there was a royal wedding in England. I can't remember their names. I'm not into that sort of thing.
Come on. One of the wedding participants was actually an American.
I knew that, but I don't care. I still don't care about that royalty stuff.
Her name?
It just means something.
Is Meghan Markle.
Okay.
And she married who? Prince
John.
Harry.
Prince
Harry.
Henry.
Harry.
Prince Lancelot.
Yeah. Anyway. Now that they're having a baby, it's all good.
Oh, isn't that wonderful?
Yes.
Isn't that fantastic?
Yes.
But in any case, yes, if you're into royalty or the royal family, one thing you may want to know about is that thing they wear on their head. Why do they wear the crown up there on top of their head? And today we're going to be talking about the history of the crown or crowns that have been worn by royalty, kings, queens, princes, princesses throughout history. And so that is the subject of today's program. We're talking about crowns, headgear fit for royalty. Let's get to it, everybody. Let's read the entire contents of today's lesson now one time.
We wear hats to keep warm, protect ourselves from the sun, or show off our style. But there's one kind of hat that means something else entirely, a crown. Crowns symbolize concepts including power, legitimacy, and victory. But above all, they show that the wearer is a ruler. Kings, queens, and emperors usually wear crowns as part of their royal garb. This tradition goes back thousands of years. The rulers of ancient Egypt had a double crown, a crown within another crown, to represent the unification of Upper and Lower Egypt. Among others, the emperors of Persia wore an ornamental headband called a diadem. Later, the Roman emperors mimicked the style. In Europe, tribal leaders used to show their status with special helmets. Later, these were decorated with precious metals and became crowns. Some of these ancient crowns still exist. One, the Iron Crown of Lombardy, is said to date back to 2nd century Roman Emperor Constantine I. While this hasn't been verified, it's almost certainly over 1,000 years old. This crown is not actually made of iron, but a silver band covered with gold and jewels. It can be seen today at the Cathedral of Monza, near Milan, Italy. Another distinguished crown is the Imperial state crown that the UK's Elizabeth II wears on important occasions. It contains almost 3,000 precious stones, including a massive diamond and other jewels worn by past English monarchs. These days, we're more likely to see crowns on stage, in movies, or as parts of costumes. Even though these props might only be made of plastic or shiny glass jewels, they still communicate a clear message. The characters wearing them possess impressive titles and wield great authority.
Okay, everybody, let's talk about crowns
Oh.
in today's program. Of course, crowns are worn by kings and queens on the top of their head. They got lots of jewels. They're made out of silver or gold, precious metals, and things like that.
You can also wear it, though, if you're a princess or a prince, and sometimes a duchess or a duke. They can wear them. So you have to have some royal blood.
You certainly do. And I'm not sure what the emperors of China wore on their heads. I don't think they wore crowns, but they wore something up there. But if you're going to Europe and maybe to other parts of the world in Asia or Africa, maybe they wore crowns as well. But you'll have to talk about that some other time. We're going to talk about the history of crowns in the Western world with Egypt and Rome and places like that. So let's get to it here. A crown is a kind of headgear in this particular case that is fit for royalty. royalty. If you're playing a sport, for example, if you're playing ice hockey, or maybe if you're a batter in baseball, you're going to wear headgear, which is basically synonymous with helmet. Headgear is a more general term for anything that you wear on your head other than just a hat.
Yeah, I was laughing with Tom before we started because when I see the word headgear, I think of my braces that I had on my teeth in junior high to make my teeth straight. They gave you this thing to wear behind your head that connected to your braces, and it killed. It was very painful.
You had it, huh?
Oh, yeah. So when I see headgear, that's what I think of. Crowns are so much more beautiful, and they don't hurt. Supposedly, most of the crowns aren't meant to cause pain. They're meant to make you look very important and let others know you are an important person who has power.
I guess they don't really serve any practical purpose then. You don't wear a crown if you go out in the rain or something. Or if you play hockey or something like that. They will be useless in those situations. They're for show. They're to show off, to let everybody know that you are the top dog, the head honcho, the number one person. So don't mess with you. So in any case, yes, these are items of headgear that are fit for royalty. That reminds me of the phrase, fit for a king. You can say that about certain things. Hey, this meal is fit for a king.
Or fit for a queen. You
could say that as well. And so that refers to something that's very luxurious or very nice, etc. So here in the first paragraph it says, we wear hats to keep warm, protect ourselves from the sun, or show off our style. But there's one kind of hat that means something else entirely, a crown. Okay, so indeed we do wear hats for practical reasons to keep warm. Like we do during the winter when it's cold, we can protect ourselves from the sun. If we're going to the beach, you can wear a beach hat or something like that. Or you might want to simply show off your style. Like nowadays, a lot of young people wear these baseball caps that have wild designs on them and big words saying various things, showing various messages. And yes, if you want to let other people know how cool you are or how rich you are, you can show off. That is the verb phrase that is very suitable for the modern world with everybody wanting to make a lot of money and buy expensive cars and show off to let everybody else know that you are really something. So if you wear this hat, you might be showing off your style. Showing off a certain fashion sense, but there's one kind of hat that means something else totally or entirely, and that is a crown, and that is the subject of today's lesson.
Yeah. So I wanted to mention when you use this verb phrase to show off, you are trying to get other people to look at you. You're probably pretty proud about something that you have on or that you can do. And sometimes it's irritating when people try to show off too much. They want to show off maybe their expensive shoes or their jackets, or maybe they have a talent they're trying to show off. So be careful. Don't show off too much. It's not always a good thing, especially when you come from a culture where you should be humble. Americans, we show off all the time because that's who we are. And I appreciate the humility of the Taiwanese people. But yeah, sometimes it's kind of fun to show off what you have. Now, crowns symbolize these concepts, these ideas like power. We've talked about them. Legitimacy just means you're real, you're not fake. And victory, you've won something. Sometimes if you win, especially a sporting event, they have different ways to give you awards. Some are trophies. Sometimes they do give you things to actually put on. So above all, more important than anything else, they show, and we're talking about crowns, that the wearer is a ruler. He has power to determine what happens to the lives or citizens in the country he rules. So kings, queens, and emperors usually wear crowns as part of their royal garb. Garb is a word we typically use just to talk about how someone's dressed, you know. Oh, I like his garb. It can even be kind of slang these days. It just means clothing, especially when it's a particular kind. Got some... Gothic garb on. The clothes are out of that Gothic style that make you kind of look like a vampire. To To talk about symbols, we usually use symbols when we want to represent one thing and give it some sort of idea, like a red rose always has symbolized romantic love. Well, crowns are going to symbolize these things like power, legitimacy, victory, and also that someone's a ruler. Let's continue on to the next paragraph. This tradition goes back thousands of years. So this has been around for a long, long time. Although the crown has changed quite a bit over the years, hasn't it?
It certainly has, and we're talking about that now. So here we go in the second paragraph talking about the history of the crown. So as it begins here, this tradition of wearing a crown by kings and queens, etc., goes back thousands of years. The rulers of ancient Egypt had a double crown. A crown within another crown to represent the unification of Upper and Lower Egypt. Those, of course, are different regions of Egypt there, and they were unified, and so the king there, I guess it would be the pharaoh or the leader of Egypt, would wear this crown that was actually a double crown, two crowns in one, maybe you could say, and they would represent two parts of the country because I guess they were separate before that, but later they were unified. Just like Germany was after 1990, was it?
Yeah.
They were unified or reunified, I guess. They were together at one time. They became separate later, and then they got together again. They were reunified. Unification, of course, everyone's talking about that as a possibility for Korea in the future. Maybe North and South Korea will unify and be one country again. So again, this crown represented that unification which took place in ancient Egypt between the North and the South, there, Upper and Lower Egypt. Now, among others, the emperors of Persia wore an ornamental headband called a diadem. Diadem, okay. And in any case, this is Persia, which, of course, is modern-day Iran. Don't confuse Iran and Iraq. They're different. Iranians are Persians, whereas Iraqis are Arabs. But here in ancient Persia, they had kind of like a crown here, but they're describing it as an ornamental headband. A headband is usually something worn around your head, like what athletes wear when they play basketball. They wear headbands, which are basically sweatbands. I guess we would call them sweatbands. But if they go around your head, then they would be headbands.
Yeah, we also use the word headband, though, Tom, for women who it's kind of like a half circle. It looks like a part of a McDonald's arch, and you pull it over to hold back usually your bangs or the front part of your hair. That's a headband as well. But yeah, what you're talking about, those sweatbands that particularly basketball players wear or tennis players to keep the sweat from dripping down into your eyes, that can be a headband or a sweatband. Those can also be worn on the wrist, of course, too. Those are sweatbands. But ladies, we do call those half circles a headband that we can put on our heads. In fact, when Meghan Markle, the new princess, when she was marrying Prince Harry, she had a crown, but it was really sort of a headband.
Well, if you say so, I don't follow those things, so I have no idea what she wore at the official wedding ceremony. But we'll talk about that and other things as our lesson continues. But right now, everybody, we're going to take a break and listen to our Chinese teacher.
Hello everyone, my name is Tina. 我们来看一下今天第一个空格的句子，它写着 Crowns symbolize blank one, including power, legitimacy, and victory. But above all, they show that the wearer is a ruler. 在这里呢，来阐明皇冠它所象征的意义。这里讲到包括权力、合法性跟胜利等等的什么空格一，但是最重要的是呢，皇冠所展示出就是佩戴者就是统治者。我们来看一下第一个问题，它的4个选项 A. Glimpses 一瞥一眼 B. Finances 财政金融 C. Landscapes风景 D. Concepts 观念概念，而皇冠它所象征的观念呢，就是像是类似权力合法性 以及胜利等等。所以第一题合乎前後文句意的标準答案，我們就選擇 D concepts。接着第二個空格寫着 The rulers of ancient Egypt had a double crown, a crown within another crown. To blank to the unification of Upper and Lower Egypt. 在这里谈到的是古埃及的统治者佩戴的是双冠，也就是一种冠中冠。那么呢，它是怎么样？然后是上埃及跟下埃及的统一，这样子的意义在哪里呢？第二题 A 选项 horrify 使恐惧， B discourage 使泄气， C represent代表， D accomplish 完成实现。这样子佩戴双冠呢，代表着就是上埃及跟下埃及的统一，所以搭配文意。第二题的标准答案我们就选择 C represent。
We're going to take a quick break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Okay, let's continue with our lesson for today. We're talking about the history of the crown or crowns. So let's see, we talked about something they had in ancient Egypt. It was a double crown. And then we've got what happened in Persia. They had a kind of headband that was ornamental with decorations and stuff, and that was called a diadem. Now, moving on later in history, the Roman emperors mimicked the style. So the Romans saw what the Persians were doing, and they thought, hey, that looks pretty cool. We should do that ourselves. So they mimicked that style. Here we've got the word mimic, which basically means to copy.
Yeah.
And we oftentimes use this word to describe parrots or mynas or whatever when they actually repeat the speech of a person. Hello, Polly, want a cracker, etc. That would be mimicking human speech, basically. To mimic, again, means to copy. So yes, the Romans basically copied that style. It was probably not exactly the same, but it was very similar.
Yeah, very similar. So, yeah, it's kind of fun. They copied the style, but in Europe, we had tribal leaders. This was long ago in history, and they used to show their status, how important they were with special helmets. You know what a helmet is? We wear helmets when we ride our bikes or scooters, motorcycles to protect our heads. Well, they had special helmets. These helmets were later decorated with precious metals. When you see that word precious, you know it's valuable. Probably costs some money. I would guess maybe gold, silver, copper, whatever was considered precious back then for them. And these became their crowns. That's how they defined a crown. Helmets with beautiful metals, precious metals. So their particular helmet, which was also a crown, it was pretty expensive. It wasn't something you just want to give away.
Yeah, it sort of reminds me maybe of North American Indian tribes or First Nations people. They would wear these things on their heads, especially the Sioux tribe or the Dakota people. They would wear a headdress, which was a bunch of feathers. I shouldn't describe it like that, a bunch of feathers, but it was actually quite beautiful, a really wonderful symbol of leadership there, of someone in a leadership position. But we did not call that a crown. We called that a headdress. But we're talking specifically about crowns here that were decorated with precious metals and maybe gemstones and things like that, at least for the Romans. Now, some of these ancient crowns still exist, okay? So maybe they found them underground or something, so you could probably see them in a museum. And one, the Iron Crown of Lombardy, is said to date back to 2nd century Roman Emperor Constantine I. So there is a crown that still exists, and it's probably in a museum somewhere. I guess it's in Lombardy, which I guess is in Italy, right?
It was northern Italy long ago.
Okay, very good. And it dates back to the 2nd century Roman Emperor Constantine I. So I guess he had this helmet, which basically was the same thing as a crown.
Yeah. So, well, this hasn't been verified. You know, we haven't been able to confirm this. This is just what we're hearing, what people say. It's almost certainly over 1,000 years old. That's really old. The crown is not entirely made of iron, which is valuable, but it's not exactly gold or silver, you know. But a silver band covered with gold and jewels. That sounds more expensive. It can be seen today if you take a trip over to the Cathedral of Monza, which is located in Italy. It's located near the city of Milan, or as they say in Italy, Milano is how they say that city's name. If you're talking about a cathedral, it typically is a very big, grand Catholic church where people go and have their meetings there. So that's where you can go and see that. Of course, Italy is filled with lots of Catholics. I would say it's almost kind of like a state religion. Most people are Catholic in Italy. So another distinguished crown is the Imperial state crown that the UK's Elizabeth II, she's still here on this earth, wears on important occasions. Yeah, her crown is pretty fabulous. It always looks heavy, though. You know, she's this older woman now. She's in her 90s. And that crown looks kind of heavy for her, but I'm sure she's thrilled to wear it. Distinguished means quite impressive, something that you would admire. You could call someone distinguished, or he has a distinguished career. She's a very distinguished professor. People admire her, look up to her. So this crown is quite something. It's the Imperial state crown. Imperial just means part of royalty. And she wears it on very important occasions. For example, probably at a wedding, maybe of one of her grandsons.
Very likely. And I'm imagining that our magazine probably has pictures of all these crowns. And if not, you can certainly find pictures of them online through a Google search. So these are some examples of some crowns that still exist that are very old. The one there from Lombardy there, the Iron Crown of Lombardy. And, of course, the one that the Queen wears, the Imperial State Crown. So these are all some examples of fantastic crowns. I should say that this particular crown of Queen Elizabeth II here, it contains almost 3,000 precious stones, including a massive diamond and other jewels worn by past English monarchs. A monarch, of course, is basically a king or queen of England in this case, but it could be of anybody, of any country, of Denmark, of the Netherlands, etc., etc. Even the kings and queens of countries in Africa probably had similar things that they wore on their heads. This one does have lots of precious stones, which would include diamonds, yes, but maybe sapphires, emeralds, rubies, etc., etc.
Yeah, those are beautiful.
And, of course, these crowns were very, very expensive. And if you steal this crown, you're going to be very rich if you can sell it, but they'll surely catch you. But in any case, that's another story. Let's move on now to the final paragraph here and see what it says about modern crowns.
Cool. So, yeah, we've got lots of different kinds of crowns these days, and we're coming into modern time. These days, we're more likely to see crowns on stage, in movies, or as parts of costumes. I've been able to wear a crown a couple of times on stage. Makes you feel kind of cool. You know, I knew it was fake. I was just acting like a princess. But I don't know, girls love to dress up in beautiful gowns and put those crowns on. Makes you feel pretty special. I think all of us dream we could be a princess. Although, now that I see Meghan Markle's life and how she has no freedom, I'm glad I'm just a normal person. So, yeah, you can wear a crown if you start dating someone who's in the royal family. But I don't know if it's worth giving up all your freedom just to have a crown. Even though we're calling these props, they're props because they're items that actors use in portraying a certain character. They're props in movies, props on TV shows. They're not real. You know that when they're using those guns, they're usually props. Real guns could be dangerous. They're props, and usually they're just made out of plastic or very, very shiny glass jewels. But they're still able to communicate that message of, hey, the person wearing this crown is impressive, she has a title, and she has authority. Here we're using this word wield. To wield just means to use that authority as you, maybe you're ruling your citizens or you're telling people what to do. To wield power, you want to use that power carefully. Wield just means to use it.
Yep, indeed. So there you have it, our lesson about crowns. But of course, there's a lot more to say about crowns. You probably should do some research yourselves. But before we say goodbye, we need to hear once again from our Chinese teacher.
接着在第三个空格的句子写着 In Europe, tribal leaders blank 3 their status with special helmets. 前面讲的是埃及，这里到了欧洲呢，这些部族的首领怎么样特殊的头盔来展示他的身份。第三题 A 选项 were used to show， 在这里呢 be used to 后面再加上原形动词，解释成为被用来做什么用途。be used to show， used to 后面加上原形动词，代表过去常常有怎么样的意义。这里指的呢，就是当时佩戴着这样子的皇冠，是用来呢，显示自己的身份跟地位。C were using to show， 那么在这里就是代表着当时正在使用去做什么事情。D used to showing， 在这里 used to 后面必须要加上原形动词才对，所以搭配文法以及句意呢，这里要表达的是过去戴着皇冠是用来展示自己的特殊身份，在欧洲是这样子的，所以第三题我们的标准答案就选择 B used to show。接着在第四个空格写着是 1. The Iron Crown of Lombardy is said to blank 4 2nd century Roman Emperor Constantine the First。在这里提到呢，这个古代的皇冠仍然存在着，其中一个就叫做伦巴第铁冠，而这个皇冠据说怎么样？到西元2世纪罗马皇帝君士坦丁一世。我们来看一下第四题的4个选项 A. Date back to 追溯起源 B. Lash out at 猛烈抨击 C. Break up with与什么分手 D. Make up for 补偿。这样子的皇冠，这样的铁冠呢，据说是可以追溯回到西元2世纪的时候，所以第四题的标准答案我们就选择 A. Date back to。 第5个空格写着 This crown is not actually made of iron blank 5 a silver band covered with gold and jewels。 这个皇冠呢，其实并不是由铁制成的，怎么样？一个覆盖着黄金跟珠宝的银头箍。在这里要注意的是，它不是铁制成，而是后面这样子以一个覆盖着黄金跟珠宝的银头箍，所以搭配句意呢，第5题我们可以选择 D 选项 But not A but B， 代表着不是 A 而是 B 的意思。第5题的标准答案我们就选择 D but。 第6个空格后面写的 Distinguished crown is the Imperial state crown。 其实我们在这一段里面介绍一些古代的皇冠，第一个介绍的呢，我们用 one， 还有另外一个我们可以使用的就是 another， 所以搭配文法的句意呢，我们第6题的标准答案可以选择 A another。第7个空格 Even though these blank 7 might only be made of plastic or shiny glass jewels, they still communicate a clear message。 尽管呢，这些怎么样的东西可能只是由塑胶或闪亮的玻璃珠宝所制，但是它们还是呢，明确的传递了一些讯息所在。前面提到的是在舞台上、电影中或者是戏服上面可能看到的皇冠，这些都称之为道具。第7题呢，我们就可以选择 B 选项 props， 就有道具的意思。 OK， 以上就是今天的课文讲解，谢谢收听。
That's it for today's program. Thanks so much for joining us, and please join us again next time as the month of April continues. From all of us here at English Digest, I'm Tom.
I'm Stephanie.
Goodbye.
Bye.